Hello, everyone. Ambassador Terry here, along with a great group of people, my cohorts in our book, People Come First, the New Business Model. And our very special guest, Lydia Balogun-Wilson, who we'll learn more about here in just a minute. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this. And for those of you who pick up the recording, we thank you as well. This is the very first broadcast of People Come First, the book series of lives that we're going to be doing. And welcome, Lydia. I am so glad you're the number one guest.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you for having me. I mean, to always sit in your circle is like sitting around wisdom. And today I'm even quadruply blessed with Linda on the call, with Jenny on the call, and John on the call. And I know each and every one of you drop pearls of wisdom, but collectively it makes a whole for anyone listening to it. So thank you for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you. And your background is very parallel to our books, our beliefs, and the way we operate in the world. And I'd like to pass it over right now to my cohort in crime, Linda Vetrus Nichols, to kind of come in on that. And off we go.
All right. So getting along with your team. Whew, I would say we have a room full of powerhouses here. And I have had very little experience with that. The rest of you guys are just absolute powerhouses of knowledge when it comes to teams and getting along with teams. Jenny, as a behavioral scientist, and she actually works with teams and helps them to get along. And Lydia, you just do such amazing work with even like young people and just really tapping in for understanding and not coming in with I know better than you because I'm older than you because I've been here longer than you. You take your people out individually for coffee if you're leading a team, and even if you're just on a team, you get to know people at a personal level, and just allowing them to be vulnerable. You're excellent at your own vulnerability, and I just like, whoa. I am such a fan. And John Chapelier, he does the same, working with CEOs. Like, what is it that's they're getting complaints and they're like, "Rah, rah, rah," and he's kind of like turning their heads around to like, well, how about let's look at it this way. So and Terry has had fantastic even like award-winning teams, and I just really appreciate the way he treats his teams as well. So welcome, Lydia, and would love for you to just jump in for a second here and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Linda. So, for those who haven't met me or know anything about me, I recommend you read my LinkedIn page because I'm going to keep it very, very short. But I am someone who loves people and I like to solve puzzles. And I like to solve puzzles, whether it's in the form of the human, the mind, the soul, the spirit. I have a curious mind, and I'm the job I do that pays my bill is engineering. So I am an engineering authority for a region, and but my passion is connection, as Linda rightly said. I'm a strong believer of building relationship and trust because it's the foundation of everything and anything we do. Where there's no trust and where there's no relationship, there's nothing to move on from. And just to have read this amazing book that the four of you have authored, it's just it it sounds like common sense, but you'll be surprised how many people don't even understand and recognize the elements of the raw material that you put into that book. So no, thank you for having me. And I am married. I've got three kids. Yes, I like to juggle a lot of balls, but I still find a way to juggle them. But what I don't tamper with is my inner peace and my space. Linda knows that very well about me. And a relationship is worth it if there's respect and there's mutual understanding. Well, thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I've only seen photos because they're way across the sea from me. She makes and creates the most incredible birthday cakes that I've seen. They are gorgeous, really well thought out, fabulous. And that's the human side of this super engineer and leader. So I'd like to pass it back to Linda, and let's go a little round robin here, and off we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, with my limited experience with teams, I was in a psychiatric day treatment center. And the thing I appreciated the most on our team was to not like allow our egos to get involved, to not take what the kids were throwing at us, literally sometimes, personally. And so if one of the staff was dealing with one of the kids, the other staff kind of had their radar up and watching. And as soon as they could see the person sort of wearing down or slipping maybe into taking things personally, then another staff member would call out Q-tip, which stands for quit taking it personally. And the person who was interacting with the kid just stopped. And in the stop, the other person approached. And that's when the person dealing with the child stepped out. And it worked so beautifully. And we had like the most successful day treatment center around. We were pulling in from like 5 schools. We looked at the kids holistically. We looked at their personalities. And, at first the kids were like, that's not fair, and it's like, it's fair for this person because this is who this person is, and this is what's fair for you because this is who you are. Do you want us to do it the way it works better for this person, or do you want us to do it the way that works better for you? And they're like, oh. So that's my limited experience with team, and just having each other's back is what I got out of that.
Fabulous, fabulous. I'm going to pass it down to the company builder, John Chapelier. He has a fabulous story about his starting up his big team.
Well, I tell you, the first team experience was funny. I was thinking about this. Is that I started in business. Well, I wouldn't call it young, but I started in an executive position reasonably young, around I don't know, 26, 27. And I went into a company that had been in business since 1887. And the organization was not what I would call cutting edge. It was 1887. And it was a very difficult situation because the owner kept, remember I said I worked for somebody for 9 years and realized it was the wrong place to work after about 3 weeks. This was that place. And here's a 26-year-old just being put in charge of 3 65-year-olds and a 50-year-old. And, you have to really work at being able to be of value to these people, because I guarantee you, if somebody looks at you 25 to 30 years younger than you are, and all you've done is come out of school versus spend 30 years working in this organization, it's very hard to create any kind of credibility. And it took a long time for me to begin to create value in the minds of those people. And that's all I could really do, is begin to show them that my task was to help make them more successful. Because I've always believed if you help make the people that are working with you more successful, then they will follow anything you suggest, because the past has been very successful. They want to go forward into the future. And that sort of evolved from, as I opened my first business at 30 and had, 5 employees, which had to sort of run everything. And so that team had to stay together. And so we sort of did a lot of the 80s stuff, which, stand-up meetings and talk to each other and keep communications open. And as the business grew to about 400 employees, we made sure that we stayed with those small groups and kept communication open. Because for me, the key is to make sure that the people who are doing the work understand that the people watching it or the people administrating it care about as much as they do. Because to me, nobody knows how to do the work better than the people doing the work. Not the people who supervise it, not the people who will lead the company. The people who do the work know how to do it best. And so it's important, it was always important for me to make sure that people at the front line understood their value in an organization. And the better that they understood that and the clearer it was made for them, the easier it became to keep your teams together and keep people together. You have to go through the process of understanding personality styles and all the other Myers-Briggs type of things. But once people understand what it takes to make a connection work or a relationship work, people want to be successful. I just believe that. I mean, everybody would rather hit a home run than strike out. Everybody would rather hit a golf club ball straight down the fairway than hook it into the water. So it's the same way at work. People would like to be successful. Give them the chance to be successful instead of being the blockage that causes their lack of ability to move forward. And when we move out of the way and let them have an opportunity to move forward, I'm always been amazed. And that's been the same from 26 to however old I am now, which I will keep as a secret. Thanks.
I love it. I love it. That's a great story. Great story. Now I'm going to pass it on to my friend and colleague from across the sea herself, Jenny Langren. Hop in.
Thank you. So a theme here really is to place ourselves in our team members' shoes. And I like to offer a phrase, a suggestion in response when someone behaves in a way that seems unnecessary or just doesn't make sense to you. It's, of course. And me and Linda, we say this very often when we talk about, things that happens in our lives, like, of course you will act that way. Of course, a narcissist will behave like a narcissist does. Of course, people behave the way they do because it serves a function in their life. Every behavior serves a purpose in their life. And it may not ultimately serve them, but there's a reason for the behavior. So all of the drama and all of the, I can't believe, when we get so upset with people behaving the way that they do, we can let go of that and just say, of course, now let's get really curious and interested in understanding. Let's climb down from my tower, from my view of things, and up into their tower and see it from where they're standing, so that, I can go in and lead from there. So just a new way, a new thought, of course.
Fabulous. I was reflecting back. One of the national championship teams that I led late last century, I love saying that, back in the late 80s, was a Navy recruiting team. And when I first took over and first got to that command, they were struggling. They had a number of people come in and physically, mentally qualified to join the Navy, but they didn't want to join. They wanted jobs that we couldn't fill because they wanted to be like a photographer. There are one class of 25 people a year to be a photographer. So the odds of getting in there are not real good. And we were just really having a powwow of all the senior people. And myself as the newbie at the table, we're all just sitting talking before the commanding officer said, okay, let's get down to what we're here for. My advertising guy was talking about this very cool new video that he was getting ready to send out, audio and video, to all of the TV stations and radio stations and all that stuff, because it was just so cool. It was power packed. And myself, I knew there was no aviation jobs available. So I said, wait a minute, what do you mean you're getting ready to send out a job about videos about aviation. Okay. We don't have any aviation jobs. Maybe that's why we're struggling. We're selling the wrong product on television for the people who are coming in. So I got the commanding officer to buy into having the public relations people pre-approved by me anything they sent out to radio and television from that day forward, no matter how cool it was, no matter if it was in support of the latest and greatest Navy movie on television and in the theaters. We couldn't fulfill the desires of the people who they saw and loved on the television. And from that point, everyone on that senior team understood that number one, I think differently. You guys all know that. But more importantly, it takes a team to connect to each other, to run your company, to run your division. Everybody's a player in the job, no matter what job they have, even if it's not directly related to putting people in the Navy at that point in time. Within 9 months, we went from number 43 out of 43 districts. We finished the year number 1 because we hit all targets month after month after month. And the reason why we did is there was people who wanted to join the Navy, and there were jobs that they were interested in when they got down to the entrance station to take their physical and tests and things like that. So it's not just knowing how to put the widget together. It's who all gets together, like John was saying, who all gets together to get the pieces of the widget so that it can be put together. Very, very important. Linda, you got something to add into that?
Actually, I'm going to throw it to Lydia because we've all said a lot, and I'm sure Lydia has some responses.
Yeah, I guess I ought to keep the guest in.
No, thank you, Linda. I'm getting so much out of this as being a guest as well. So I'm receiving as much as I'm giving, if not more. So just like you said there, and Terry, it's very important that a team's culture is defined. And it's something I've talked about before. Every team has got its culture, and part of that culture are the goals and orientation. And you find that a fragmented team is a team that is not aligned. They haven't got a culture. They don't have a belief. They don't have what they stand for. And I see that even in my business and my work. You find when you go to areas where, whether the boss is there or not, they're speaking the same language. That is the culture. They believe in it. They believe in the vision. And then when you go to a team where they're this fragmented, this disorganization, if you deep down to the roots, you find out that there's no culture. And Jenny, you said that rightly earlier on about when you put yourself first before the interest of the team. And I know it sounds common sense, but it's the emotions. It's Linda, I think you talked about it earlier as well, is getting very emotional. I love that Q-tip that you mentioned. I might steal that and use that with my team. But it's that when you take things personally rather than objectively, it tends to affect how the team grow and how they even deliver, which is what I know this book is talking about. And there's one of the things in one of your previous books that you've written is, how do you deal with your baggage first? How do you learn to deal with your baggage, and how do you learn to deal with the challenges that you've had? And I love how each chapter of the book has mentioned, from love, empathy. My favorite is listening with intent and not listening to respond, which a lot of us do. And it's getting to that place where I have worked so much on myself, my pride, my ego, and I'm dropping it before I enter the circle of the team so that I can pick on the vision and the goals of the team and run with it and see it as, when we do well, the team does well. And John, you mentioned that earlier as well, when you said that I want to always let the people that I surround myself with to know that my purpose in that circle is to help them be successful. And if all of us have that mindset as members of a team, just imagine the success rates we'll have collectively as a team. So I think it's really important that we get our team culture right, and we also address our own struggles and our fears, and be vulnerable, admit them, recognize them, and be willing to deal with them. Sometimes we hide because ad, ad, and admitting that you've got a fear makes you look weak, makes you feel vulnerable, and is a place a lot of us don't want to go to in a team. But when you admit that you don't know everything, when you admit that there's somebody in this team that might have the answer better than I do, it just helps to boost morale. It helps to grow and empower each other, which is another thing that I know that the book is talking about, is how do we empower the people and how do we help people grow to the place where they're just happy to be around us. And I know, Jenny, you're all about the aura and the energy that we walk in with. When you've dealt with yourself, you bring in great energy. But I'll pass on the baton to you, Jenny. I mean, what do
Oh,
you?
thank you, Lydia. Yeah, what comes in for me is that we can only meet people as deeply as we have met ourselves. So it really is that inner work to be able to hold that space. Leadership and guiding teams is so much about holding that space, holding that energy, not to place yourself in the center, but to support people to self-reflect, to do their own inner journey, and to tap into their creativity, to understand when they are in flow, when they are truly enjoying and being fulfilled in their work. And like, communication is the hardest thing for all of us in all organizations. And it really does take for us to be observing, like you say, Lydia. We're not in the heat of everything. It's more like we're sitting, looking at a stage, or we're it's called meta perspective, or we're like the eagle flying, looking down from above. We see the bigger picture, and we're able to observe and act more objectively on what's going on, and truly be the support that our team needs. So thank you, and I'm enjoying your energy. It's lovely to have you here.
Yeah, I think tap into that. I've written in one of my other books that I launched last year, Consortium Business Model for the 21st Century, and that is, when people achieve together, they feed off of each other's energy. So no one person will overachieve and burn. And when you're feeding off each other's energy, it's very easy to keep motivated, keep focused, and keep your mind clear. The teams that I've had in the past where we were in full forward motion, I got some fabulous ideas out of somebody, once in a while, who never spoke up. All of a sudden, they were excited to pass something on because of two things. They were respected and they were acknowledged as a member of the team and a contributor of the team. So when that happens, they're far more likely the person to go, I got something you might think about. And once in a while, that think about something turns out to be an amazing shift in where we're going and the problems we're trying to solve. Linda, you're just jumping that head up and down. I'm going to pass it over to you.
Yeah, Lydia is fabulous at edifying others, and that just, it really popped in my head. Like, as far as like a corporate team, no, haven't been on a corporate team. Worked special ed, was at the psychiatric day treatment center. I was also in direct sales, and those are teams too. And in direct sales, they are so good at edifying one another and networking each other's businesses. It's pretty cool. So edification is what came to my mind. Edifying each other on the team, as well as the team leader, edifying their peeps and and the employees, people, whatever, edifying their leader. Edification, like all the way around, is huge, and to be doing that within your own families as well. And so I'd love John to jump in here with anything, but John, you're so good at being grateful, and you're wonderful at edifying people as well. And I know you go into corporate settings and you do a lot of edification. You even did that in your own companies and treating people as individuals, like giving truck drivers their business cards or something, their own business cards. You just have so many stories.
Well, I guess that's because I'm old enough to have them. The issue for me has always just been people, like I said earlier, they want to be successful. And I think Lydia said it earlier, it seems very commonsensical. And it's sadly for me, I mean, I've been banging against this door since probably the early 70s. And, let's just, I was walked into an environment which was keep them at minimum wage until they quit and then find somebody else at minimum wage. And I'm thinking, well, that's a great way to save money, but how many deliveries are we missing? How many mistakes are we making because we're not training people well? How much more could we be doing if we just invested a little time and energy into the value of the lives of the people? And that fell on deaf ears for so many years. When I wrote the Daily Six back in 2005, Putnam really wasn't sure they wanted to publish the book because they just didn't understand why it would be important to connect emotion and the knowledge together to help improve organizations. And I kept thinking, we're talking about engaged environments, engaged people in an organization, engaged teams, engaged cultures. What the difference between a couple and an engaged couple is emotion. That's the only real difference. And so what we want people to be able to do is feel connected to each other on an emotional level, not an intellectual level, not as if I help him, then I'm going to hit my bonus. Well, that's great. That's great. But if you help him and he's successful and you're successful too, if you focus on the success, the other things sometimes fall by the wayside. If you focus on the people, and this is the whole purpose of the book that we had before, which was, people come first. I've always believed if you focus on the people, then the money will come. If you focus on the needs of the others, then the needs of yourself will be provided. Zig Ziglar said that years and years ago, which is, the harder I focus on others' needs, the more successful I become. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I heard that, I don't even know how long ago I heard him talk, but if my focus is this way instead of this way, it changes the entire relationship with everyone. And this is the problem in overcoming that is everybody's been taught to focus this way. Make sure you go in, make sure you get attention, make sure you're the center, make sure they notice you, make sure all of these things, not make sure that you help be a part of the team that moves everyone forward. Because that's not the spotlight. Everybody wants to be in the spotlight. Only the lead dog gets a good view. All these concepts that we were told as kids, which are really wrong. The lead dog does get a good view, but if it wasn't for the other dogs, they wouldn't move anywhere. And I don't think a view is the purpose of pulling a sled. So the idea here is, are we together? Do the people realize we're together? And if they don't realize it, they won't be a part of it. So it's a much harder process for leadership to work in an environment we're talking about, because it is not just pay them and then watch them. It's pay them and then continue to engage them, continue to engage them, continue to engage them. It's an always moving forward, always changing, and always inquisitive. How can we do this better? How can we do this better? As I said before, the person that will answer that question is a person doing the job, not somebody who just got back from business school. So it's, not that there's anything wrong with business school. Some of my best friends have MBAs. So, it's It's just important that we remember the focus is out here, not in here.
Lovely, lovely. And, you know, it pulls us around full circle to, you know, in our book, when we talk about, had a senior moment. It doesn't matter.
Jenny has some quotes there. Here.
Here's the book. So Jenny had some quotes. Great. Let's pass it over to Jenny.
Oh, I was thinking about reason and emotion, or we say logic and emotion, or logic and intuition. And science really is behind us in how connecting the two of them is what leads to the safest decision making. You know, if we evaluate our options in infinity, like if we're only stuck in logic, then we will always look for doing the right thing and be afraid of doing the wrong thing, and we will never get to that gut feeling of what feels good and what feels true for this moment. And if we are only in emotion, so to speak, which is a lot of this is what many of us fear, is that we will make short-term decisions because we're only focusing on the present. So it's just interesting how that goes together, and also how care, I mean, there's leadership without care is manipulation. Communication is in a way only manipulation. It's a way of influencing other people. And if there's no care, then that's, in my eyes, that's not leadership. That's only manipulation. And in the same way, sometimes we hear people saying to their team members, like, I'm just being real with you. I'm just being honest with you. It's the facts. This is what happens. But honesty without compassion is brutality. So there are just so many angles to take this. Yeah, so I just appreciated what you brought forth, John, on logic and so forth.
Okay. Well, I had a moment to regroup there about where I was going for in the first place. And Jenny so aptly set it up. And that is, you know, people have two main functions in life: to love and be loved. Okay. And when we start with ourselves, it's not being selfish. When we start with ourselves and love ourselves and give ourselves the ability to be human, we make mistakes, then we can be more present and give that same love to others around us. And they give it to others, and they give it to others. And then pretty soon, all those others start giving love back to you again. And it just multiplies and multiplies. And in business, that is a huge concept because, well, I'm often quoting Richard Branson's famous post from also late last century: take care of your employees, they'll take care of your customers. And that man has got the golden finger, okay? And because he is so involved in his people and nurturing them and making them feel like they're part of the whole family, a functioning part of the family, you know, he never worries about how many people he needs to hire. They come to him, you know, they want to work for Virgin. And there's a lot of other companies out there that we can cite too, but the precipice here is really treat people like people come first, because if you don't have the people, you don't have a company anyway. Okay. So it's good business to take care of your people. It's not just, oh, okay, I'll check this off, I'm going to take care of it. A few people, I'll send them a birthday card or whatever, and that'll be fabulous. No, it's not. It's about acknowledging the fact that they are real and they are a contributor. You know, in my company, Linda and I's company is worldwide. We're on 6 continents, 17 countries, blah, blah, blah. The key there, though, is we treat everybody the same. And everybody has a voice. we all have different jobs. We don't have this building hierarchy of our company. We all have different jobs in our company. So the chairman of Bank of America, for instance, a worldwide huge banking system, has a different job than the teller at the drive-up window at some little, town branch out in the middle of nowhere. The difference is only the job, not because the chairman is a super person. She has different experience, education, and those types of things to do a specific job and is doing that job. It's like Lydia's people that's working for her within her corporation and her region, they all have different jobs. Doesn't mean that Lydia is above them, and it certainly doesn't mean that she's below them. Lydia works with them, okay? That's why she's such a wonderful first guest in the People Come First series that we're putting together here. Lydia, do you have something to add in there?
No, you've all said very, very great things. And something I want to leave everyone with, it's again, I know, John, you challenged me saying common sense, but it's basic. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Like Terry, you were right. People just want to be loved and they want to give love. And if you treat your staff the way you want to be treated, with kindness, with respect, with recognition, with be their champion, be their cheerleader where it matters, have their back. That's what a good leader does. You don't throw your people under the bus to save yourself. You take ownership. You're accountable for it. Even if you delegate a responsibility, you hold on to the accountability and lead by example. People know what type of leader you are by your actions, not by your words. How do you handle situations? How did you speak? How did you deal with difficult situations? And those are the pressure cooker times. That's what I call them. That's when you know who you really are. And each and every one of us is on a journey. I certainly know that I'm on a journey in my leadership. I'm not perfect in any shape or form. That's not why I'm here. It's because I'm willing to know that I still need to grow in this space and be better in this space and to acknowledge my limitations. And I think that's what is important for us as leaders, is for us to know when we're not enough and where to get that extra that will make us extraordinary as leaders. And I think that's really vital for us as we journey through life, as we work in a corporate place, because all the Pulse survey, what you're rated as, today's world doesn't rate you on your profits, doesn't rate you on your technology alone. It rates you on how your people feel working for you. It's part of what makes a company FTSE 500 to FTSE 100. And you talked about Richard Branson there. He's personal to us. Because my husband used to work for Richard Branson, and he got a letter from Richard Branson a long time ago. It's still one of the best letters we have in the house. Personally signed by Richard, thanking him for a piece of work that he did. And I remember sharing that with my bosses to say, sometimes you overthink how you want to recognize us. Just a simple thank you coming from somebody senior above is saying, you see me, you know what I do, and you know the value that I bring to the table. And so, no, John, thank you. Terry, thank you for mentioning that. And John, thank you for continuing to reminding us that the success of others is equally our success. And Jenny, we just have to learn to not lose what makes us humane when we're dealing with people: the care, the compassion, the kindness, the empathy, the active listening and listening with intent, the skills that helps us to help pull our team together, to make our team want to go, you know what? I'm going to follow you wherever you go. I'm going to stand with you wherever you go, because I know that your vision has my interest, because you're going to look after me. So thank you, Terry, for the opportunity.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. Wow. Talk about round robin and on out, oops, getting a little feedback. Okay. So yes, let's do a little final thoughts here, and we'll just go around the screen and bring this back to a whole, and I'll pass it off to my partner, Linda Vetrus-Nichols. Linda?
Oh, that was great. Thank you so much, Lydia. I just really appreciate you showing up for this and putting the icing on the cake, so to speak. And I'm so happy that you received from all of us as well.
John?
Well, the thing I wanted to say was you were talking about Richard Branson's letter, and I remember going into an office and sitting down with a senior person, but not the CEO, and across the office on a desk, another desk in the office was a framed Post-it note. All right. Just a Post-it note framed, because that's the only note the person had ever received from the boss. Thanks very much for blah, 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 Jim, kind of thing. And that Post-it note meant enough to him. He said, the first 10 years or so I had it stuck on my computer monitor. He said, but once I moved to a little higher up in an organization, I decided to frame it and put it on the wall to remind me that it's very important for me to make sure that not only do I praise people for their work, that I make sure that it's specific and frequent. Those are really important too, as far as praise goes. Thanks a lot for a great job means very little to most people. Thanks a lot for all your hard work means very little to most people. But thanks a lot for helping us with the Anderson project. That's much more powerful. People can grab a hold of that. And if you begin to connect with people, that's what this requires, specificity and frequency. So thanks a lot. I'm glad I was here, and I was glad to meet you, Lydia.
Whoa, that was fantastic. Yeah, great reflection. Post-it note. So simple and yet so powerful. Jenny, some reflection?
Thank you. Yeah, when I go out to companies to map out work environments, sometimes I'm called in and I can tell that the leadership team is hoping for me to just point to the group and point out what they're doing wrong or what they're not, that they're not following like they should, and I'm not always the most popular person, because I will always bring to the table that there is some work for everyone to participate in. There is growth. There's this next step of understanding of opening up your mind for everyone, leadership, employee, everyone in the company has that work to do. And as a leader, we'll get to be the first one to say that this is on my side of the fence. This is on me. And just as we've been having this conversation, I can hear my kids playing downstairs. And I know that I did not give the most specific instructions for them and the babysitter that I'm working with right now. And, as I started, of course, I can sit here and get upset, or I can say, of course, based on their understanding, based on the time that we had together, that makes total sense. So there's no need for drama. There's no need for heart, for anger or resentment. There's just this, okay, let's evaluate, let's observe. This is on my side of the fence. And tomorrow I get to choose differently. So I love keeping it real based on what's going on around me. Thank you.
Amazing. I'm glad as host I get to finish up the show today, and I am just so proud and grateful that, Lydia, you could start this series off. We have never physically met each other. This is part of this internet world that we were in, but you and your family, your kids, all of us, Linda and I, have grown this friendship and this respect for each other. And Linda's had you on other programs as well. You're an amazing leader. You're an amazing person. And I'm very honored to have had you on to start this series. And I thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the first series today. And I just want to invite you to stay tuned. We've got a lot of Wednesdays to do for People Come First. Thanks for stopping in for us. Bye for now.